I know I don't normally make videos about video games, but I just finished the most insane game I've ever played, and I knew I had to make a video about it. I can't tell you how many times I said what the f out loud just because of how insane its story gets. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before, and I love it. Now, you're probably wondering what game I'm talking about. Well, it's called 13 Sentinels. It tells one of the most unique and interesting sci-fi stories ever, and I'm hoping that by the time you finish this video, you'll understand what makes this game so special and why you need to play it. So I figured the best place to start would be with a general synopsis of the story and how the gameplay works. Stop me if you've heard this before, but the story is there's a bunch of giant robots called kaiju coming to destroy Earth, and 13 teenagers have to pilot giant robots called Sentinels to stop the kaiju, hence the name 13 Sentinels. Now, the plot might sound pretty similar to anime like Evangelion or any other mech anime where kids pilot giant robots to save Earth, but that's only on the surface. At first, the story seems pretty straightforward, but as you play, it gets pretty crazy and complex, and the way it goes about telling that story is pretty unique. You play as those 13 different teenagers who have to pilot the Sentinels. How it works is there's a screen where you pick one of the characters to play as, and you'll play through a portion of their story in what is basically a visual novel. The only gameplay here is you walking around and talking to people. You do have this thought bubble thing that you can pull up where you can select something for the character you're playing as to contemplate, or you can use one of these to ask a character a question related to that thought. Then, after you've played through a portion of their story, you return to the menu where you can pick the same character again if you want, or any of the other characters. There are points where you'll have to complete something in another person's story before you can keep playing as the character you want to play as, because all their stories are connected and you need to play another person's story to give context to what happens in the next part of someone else's story. Also, you'll have to play through some people's stories to unlock other characters. I think at first you have like 6 characters, and then you'll slowly unlock all the other ones. Now, if you don't like visual novel type games, you might not like this aspect of the game, but this is not all the gameplay that you'll be doing. There's another mode called Battle Mode that you have to play through where you'll actually fight the kaiju. I've never played anything quite like this, so I might be bad at explaining this mode, but I'll try my best. It's top-down, and you can select up to 6 characters to control, and you can give them different commands. But after they attack, you have to wait for their attack meter to cool down before you can do anything again. The goal here is to destroy all the kaiju while protecting this mainframe thingy. You can technically wait for the time to run out. There's a timer at the top, and once that runs out, you don't need to protect the mainframe thingy anymore, but that takes so much time that it's just faster to destroy all the kaiju. So I guess it's sort of like a tower defense game, and at first this mode is pretty easy, but as you continue it gets harder. And there's actually a lot of strategy involved with like picking what characters to use, since they all have different abilities, since they all use different model Sentinels. Now you might be thinking, if you can only pick 6 characters out of the 13, then after you found good characters, then why would you ever switch to other characters? Well, the way the game handles this makes sense and works with the story. So throughout the story, it's mentioned that you can't pilot a Sentinel for too long or else you can get brain damage. So after playing through 2 levels, you can't use the same character again. And the only way to use them again is to either play 2 more levels with different characters or reset their brain damage meter, which doesn't cost anything, but it will reset your point bonuses, which you can stack if you beat levels in a row without losing. And what these bonuses do is when you beat a level, you get bonus upgrade points to upgrade the Sentinel's abilities. Technically, you could use the same characters every time, but there's kind of an incentive to use different characters while you're waiting for the other characters to reset, since you'll get more upgrade points than if you stuck with the same characters. Eventually, I did start sticking with the same characters because there's also a bonus objective that you can complete to unlock something, and I wanted to 100% the game. So eventually, I just started picking the best characters and would reset their levels when it was a really hard level. But it is still cool that there is a reason to pick other characters and not just stick with the same people. After a while, I started to love this mode, actually a little bit more than the visual novel mode, and I wish there were more levels. Honestly, if they released a game with only this mode, I would play it. It is just so much fun. Now, after hearing about the gameplay, this game might seem pretty straightforward and not too complicated, but trust me, it is. The complexity of it comes from the story. First off, you play as 13 different characters who each have their own story that intersects with all the other characters. And you also have to piece together when certain events happen, because the story is kind of told out of order. You'll play as one person, and what you do as them in that portion of their story may have happened in the past or future for the next character you play as. So when you select a new character and interact with the other character that you previously played as, you might be interacting with them before or after a huge event happened in their story. So you have to piece together the story and when certain events happen. Not only that, but the battle mode takes place in the future. The visual novel type mode is showing you how each character got to the point where they have to pilot these mechs. And sometimes you'll need to complete a portion of the battle mode to continue playing the visual novel mode for some characters. So you'll be swapping from the future to past a lot, and sometimes there's a lot to keep track of. But its complexity and out-of-order storytelling is what makes it so unique and interesting. It's actually pretty fun piecing everything together because it feels like you're solving a mystery, and it does a brilliant job at making everything come together in the end, and making things mostly make sense at the end of the story, but getting there can be kind of rough sometimes because you need to keep track of a lot of information. Luckily, there's a menu that keeps track of the events you've played through and puts them in chronological order. So if you're ever confused or forgot something, you can check it out in the menu, which helps a lot. I know most of this video I've just been talking about the gameplay and not really going into too much detail about what I actually like about it and what makes this story so special. So let's talk about it. I think the main thing that's special about this game is its story and how crazy it can get. It's a little hard to talk about without spoiling anything, but I'm gonna do my best. One thing the game is really good at is making you think a certain thing, and then it turning out that that might not be true, that everything you've known up till now is wrong. And it happens a few times throughout this game, and there are some amazing plot twists in here. But the twists are presented in a way where it feels like you're slowly uncovering information, and you're piecing all the information from the other characters' stories together. Like, for example, I'm going to be pretty vague here because of spoilers, but there's a part in the story where someone reveals something to this character you're playing as, and it made me question everything that had happened up till that point. And then I couldn't play as that character until I finished one of the later battle mode levels. So I'm sitting there questioning everything that I've known until that point, and not being able to find out more right away. Then I had to either move on to another person's story, or play through like 10 battle mode levels before I could play as the character I wanted to. So I swapped to another character in hopes of finding out more. And a little while later, I'm playing as another character. Then all of a sudden, they discover something that may have to do with what the character I was playing as earlier discovered. And I was like, okay, so things are like this, but how are they like this? It doesn't quite make sense with what I know now. So I wanted to keep playing in hopes of finding out the truth. And it kept me hooked. I continued to play, and even more mysteries would start coming up, which made me want to play even more. I don't think I've ever had a game that I was this engaged with. One thing that tends to happen for me, at least, is there's always a point in every video game that I've played that drags or just feels like I don't want to play anymore. I want to finish the game already. That's happened with even some of my favorite games. For example, God of War Ragnarok is one of my favorite games ever made. I think it has an amazing story and I fucking love it. But throughout playing that game, there were points where I was like, I just want to finish the story already. I don't want to play through another level and fight like 20 more enemies. I want to get to the end of the game. And I still love that game. But with 13 Sentinels, there was never a point where I wanted the game to end. I honestly wish it kept going. I wish I was still playing it right now. I did take breaks while playing, obviously, but it may not have been for the reason you think. It wasn't because I had something to do or I just wanted to go do something else. It was because there was so much information to process sometimes, and I would have to stop playing for the rest of the day to just think about what had happened because some crazy shit happens. This game is fucking genius. I've never played or read or watched anything like this. Well, I guess that's not entirely true. The game does take a lot of inspiration from anime and a lot of sci-fi movies and books, and its out-of-order storytelling is pretty similar to the Monogatari anime if you watch Monogatari in the release order, but the way it's told and presented is unlike anything I've ever seen before. I don't think there will ever be a story like this again in terms of how it was presented and told. If you like anime, if you like sci-fi, you should play this game. It came out in like 2019, and I can't believe it took me this long to play it. I bought it last year, and now I finally played it. I feel like in this video, I haven't been able to go into that much detail about the game, and I don't know if I'm conveying why this game is so special. Maybe I'm doing a terrible job at that, but you should at least give this game a chance. It is complicated and confusing at times, but in the most amazing way possible. Anyways, let me know if any of you have played this game before, or if this video got you to want to check out the game. Also, if you have any questions about any of the things I cover on this channel, or just want to tell me your thoughts on an anime I covered, you can DM me on Instagram. I try to answer every comment I get, but sometimes it gets a little crazy down there. So if you want to message me directly, the link to my Instagram is in the description. Anyways, I'll see you all whenever I upload again, which hopefully won't be too long from now. I know it's been 3 months since I last posted a video, and I feel like every video I post now, I end up saying I'm going to try to post more consistently. Hopefully that actually does happen this time. Hopefully it won't be nearly as long. Anyways, thanks for watching.